Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today TV. I'm here with Wendy Griffith, who is the author of the book, You Are a Prize to Be Won. And I thought she was writing a book about me, but it turns out it's not the case, Wendy. Thanks for being here.
Just meeting him for the first time, and he's a joker.
Yeah.
I know, I told him my website, youareaprize.com. He said, oh, you're giving me a compliment. And Randy, I've only known you for about 2 minutes, but you are a prize.
Mm-hmm. And how can you say that? How can you put that on
Because
a
Jesus
book
lives
cover?
in you, and so I
Okay.
know there's a prize in there.
Okay, now why is this a big topic to you?
God told me to write about my test and my heartbreak, and
Which was?
which was a heartbreak with a breakup with a guy that I dated for a year. And it was devastating. And the Lord said, write about your test. And he reminded me of, I mean, I knew the title right away. I just knew it because it was a word that God spoke to my heart. And I didn't get to talk to your parents about this, but it was several years ago. I was on assignment with CBN, big international story down in Florida, and I did something I don't normally do. I asked a guy out to dinner. We had been hanging out all day. I had interviewed him. He was a single Christian. I was a single Christian. I didn't want to go back to my lonely hotel and eat, a TV dinner. So I said, hey, would you like to grab, a bite to eat? And he said, I got to get to the gym. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm driving back to the hotel, and I'm like, why did I do that?
Now you know how we felt all those years.
I was right. But you guys were supposed to be the pursuers. We'll get back to that. Okay.
Sorry.
This is not about you. This is about me.
know,
Okay.
I'm not saying I haven't been single in a long, long time. Thank
Right.
God.
So I'm going back to the hotel, and I just was beating up on myself, and I heard the Holy Spirit say so clearly, not audibly, but clearly in my spirit, you are a prize to be won. And I'm like, wow, okay. In other words, you don't have to be the one asking the guy out and being the pursuer or
Right.
running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You can.
So do you think girls should not ask guys out?
I don't think they should. I don't think that is the role. I mean, I think there are always exceptions, Randy, but
right.
in general,
Sure.
I don't think they should. And so I started preaching that when I would occasionally, have a chance to speak to women, and I would preach on the topic, you are a prize to be won. But I wasn't tested on it, and I didn't realize I didn't even believe it myself until I got in a relationship and I put up with bad behavior. When you know your value, Randy, it's a game changer. You suddenly don't put up with bad behavior anymore. You don't put up with a guy who says, I love you, but I don't know if you're the one. You say, okay, well, you can take your butt and go on back to where you came from, because I'm worth, and every woman is worth, and I love you, period.
Yeah.
You don't put up with a year of one day at a time. When you're in your there's different scenarios, but if you're in your 40s and you're marriage-minded and your boyfriend is marriage-minded, but after 5, 6, 7 months, he's still saying, God's saying one day at a time, well, then he's what I call, what Steve Harvey says, you guys either doing two things with you. He's planning with you or he's playing you. And so I think at some point, women have to understand that if a guy is still not popping the question, after a year, then it's time to say goodbye.
A year? That's all you give them?
If you're at a certain age.
But you're not in your 40s yet. Okay,
yes.
Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Now, one thing you do talk about in here are counterfeits. You've never been married?
I've never been married.
Wow.
I think that's a good reaction. Thank you.
You must have broken a few hearts along the way.
Well,
But you don't have to answer that.
I'd like to think so.
Talk
no, I'm
about
kidding.
the counterfeits.
I'm talking about counterfeits. I have a chapter called How to Avoid the Counterfeit. Because what's interesting, about counterfeits is they look so much like the genuine article. I mean, it's very difficult to tell a fake Prada purse from a real Prada purse, right? No, don't answer that.
I couldn't even tell a Prada purse from a non-Prada purse.
A fake $100 bill from a real $100 bill. And I looked up the definition of counterfeit is interesting because it literally means intended to deceive. And so the enemy of our souls always wants us to settle for the counterfeit. And in order not to do that, we have to be listening to his words or to her words if you're a guy. A lot of times the counterfeit will just give themselves away by what they're saying. You know, like, my parents love you, why don't they marry you? Okay, you know, this guy is not the one, you know? And so...
But now what's the difference between someone who's just not genuine and someone who's intending to deceive? Because there's a little more sinister purposefulness there.
Well, with a counterfeit person, they don't have to be evil.
Right.
And they may not even know they're the counterfeit, but in your scenario, in your dating world, they're the counterfeit because they're not able to give you real intimacy. They give you, you know, they might take you, for instance, my situation, you know, he would take me to look at houses as if we were going to get married and buy a house. He would say things like, you know, you're essentially my spouse.
So leading you on.
So, yeah, and so the counterfeit, you have the words, the way you avoid a counterfeit is the words and the actions need to be going together. You know, if there's months and months of, you know, one day at a time, but there's never any serious talk about the future, and there's never any ring shopping, and there's never really any talk about a wedding, then you're in a counterfeit relationship. A counterfeit relationship, you know, is it can look and smell and taste almost like the real thing, but it's not the real thing. And the enemy always wants us to settle.
Yeah.
And God doesn't. God has best. Well, I tell women, you know, what I learned the hard way was that, first of all, God hates compromise, and he wants to give us his best. If we don't settle, he'll let us settle. It breaks God's heart when we settle, because he's saying, you know, I've got best for you. You know, don't settle for crumbs. You know, I've got a banqueting feast. You know, I have a great love for you. I have real intimacy for you, not just, you know, a little an occasional crumb, an occasional I love you. You know, I felt like I was starving in this relationship emotionally. By the end of the year, you know, I was just like waiting for that crumb, you know, every day of like something. I miss you, I love you, or, you know, just enough to hold on. And God rescued me because...
You know, a lot of married women feel that way too.
Yes, a lot of married women are reading my book and saying that they're getting a new revelation of their value as well. I had a married woman say that she read the prelude, just the opening to the book. She said that was worth it. That was worth the price of the book just to read the prelude, which is all about how knowing your value can be a game changer in any relationship, whether you're married or single.
Do you address younger women? Like, I have a daughter that's 20.
Oh yeah, I'm hearing from a lot of young girls.
This is a message that I want her to hear, but I do not want her on that 1-year timetable, because there's some learning to be done at that age, obviously.
Absolutely. No, you're right. In my situation, you know, you're in your 40s, the clock is ticking, you know, you don't, that is a totally different ballgame when you're 20, if you're, you know, 18, if you're in college. Yeah, absolutely, the rules are a little bit different, but there are some rules that don't change.
Like what?
Well, like the dangers of recreational kissing. I have a chapter on that, whether you're 16
Does that mean just
or
kissing
63.
for fun?
I make a case that kissing can lead you to fall in love with a total jerk just because he's a great kisser. Because kissing gives off these incredible endorphins, and science backs me up on this, Randy. You can look at it. It releases these endorphins that they're like a drug. And you know, I have some fun with that chapter because, you know,
but there's some truth to that.
There's some truth in it. Like one of the young girls that I work with at CBM, when she read that chapter and she saw the title to it, she said, "But kissing is my favorite recreation." You know, and of course, I mean, for a lot of young people, we see it as a very harmless activity, and we think, and especially as Christians, well, I'm not having sex, I'm saving sex for marriage. But when I was in this relationship and my boyfriend and I were not having sex, the Holy Spirit said, "Wendy, you're feeling vulnerable because you're giving yourself away." And I said, "Well, how am I giving myself away? Because we're not having sex." But with every makeout session, I was falling more and more into this quagmire of this fantasy of love, because, and I warn not just young girls, but especially young girls that haven't had their heart broken yet. Hopefully your daughter is one of those, that I don't thank God for anything wanting me to go through heartbreak. It's the worst pain I've ever experienced on earth, and it's amazing that you can live through it. And if I can keep one woman from going through that kind of pain, then it will have been worth writing the book.
And there's something that is true about women when they do get married. If they have a lot of physical bonds that they've created with other guys, whether it's through kissing or whether it's through other activities, those can drag into a marriage and create all sorts of havoc.
Absolutely,
So, I mean,
the soul
there's
ties.
something to be said about saving yourself physically in every way, you know.
That's right.
Until you're married, it
It
allows you to
doesn't-
grow together instead of the comparisons, you know,
Absolutely.
that can pull you apart.
And I have one of my best friends just got married, and she's my age. And she and her husband did not kiss until their wedding day. Of course, they only dated for about 4 months, but that can be a long time, and and so they had their first kiss on their wedding day, and she said it was so worth it, so worth waiting, and I used to think that was impossible.
Yeah.
But I'm really intrigued now, and I write about the benefits of that, because what we're all really craving is real intimacy. I desperately wanted to know what it felt like to be wanted.
Yeah.
To have someone say, "I'm in love with you. Will you spend the rest of your life with me?" I wanted that so much, and I didn't get that. What I got was a counterfeit experience of love that proved to be exhausting and was not God's will, and ended up with me being completely heartbroken for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So does God heal broken hearts? He sure does. He says, "I'm near the brokenhearted." And so I just encourage women to, if you're going through that pain, run to Jesus, because he really is and tell him about it, and write about it in your journal, and in that season will end. It does end, and you do come out stronger on the other side.
Good, encouraging words of hope and wisdom. So maybe, you check out her book, you can save yourself some of the heartache she's been through, and learn some good things, because truly, women, you guys are a prize to be won, and that means effort on our part as men.
Yeah, we want the guy who's going to fight for us.
Yeah, it's true. And you talk about not kissing until your wedding day. A little secret is the more you hold out on a guy, the more interested he is.
That's right. It still
true.
works.
It's true.
It still works.
So, okay, your website, in case people want to
Sure,
follow
they
up.
can follow me on Facebook, and they can also follow me at youareaprize.com. Those are the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Great. Check it out. Get her book there. Get it online. I'm sure you can get it at Amazon and the other places.
Sure,
that
Amazon's great.
should be paying me a promotional fee, but don't. But get her book. And do be sure that you watch Wendy Griffith when she is on Life Today. You can see her show at lifetoday.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Randy. God bless you.